In part 2, Shannon shares more about how the workplace abuse affected her mental and physical health and the painful search for a new job. Have you moved on to bigger and better things?
Ooh, no, no, I haven't moved on to bigger and better things, because what I will say to anybody that you feel crazy, you
Mm-hmm.
know that something has been altered on the inside of you. You don't know
Yeah.
what that is. You don't know why that is. You're questioning everything. You're looking around. You're asking for help, but you don't even know how to ask
What
for
kind of
help.
help you're asked for? Yeah.
What kind of help am I asking for? It wasn't about a job. I understand anybody that may see this or hear this, of saying you should get over it. I agree. I understand that it's just a job. But what I am going to say is that this was my
Yeah. Ooh,
dream that I was
ooh, that
passionate about,
word.
that I gave
Mm-hmm.
100, 200% of myself, of
Mm-hmm.
servitude. This organization hinged on radical compassion and
Mm,
servitude. And I gave it. I
mm,
gave it. And the very
mm.
thing that I love did not
That
give
you
back to
love.
me. It ruined me. It ruined me.
This was your dream, and it was your life's mission and purpose. And
Yes.
when you realize that someone, just because they're in the power or in the position of power, can ruin your life, literally ruin your
Overnight.
life
Overnight.
overnight, in a
Uh-huh.
matter of a minute, in an instant, without there being any accountability, what has
Yeah.
that done to your psyche, to your physical health, your mental health?
Well, I have mental health issues at this present time. Suicidal thoughts is a real constant thing.
Mm,
Um, Suicide
it
ideation
is.
is a real constant thing. One day you're up, one day you're down. I
Mhm.
had a nervous breakdown. My weight went way down. Um, you, I feel, and I have felt very isolated because you hear all the time about getting over it. You should get over it.
Mhm.
It's just a job. My livelihood has not been restored at all. Um,
Mm.
New doors have opened, sure. I was able to be a part of internship at news stations, and so that was great. I've traveled out of the country. That was great. But at the same time, that weight of pressure in your heart, in your mind, and feeling like worthless,
Yeah.
that you don't, that your value doesn't mean anything.
Mhm.
My entire staff and team members, they stormed the CEO's office on my behalf. Many people became suicidal, as myself.
Mm.
I had to maintain my position in a sense of saying everything is fine. And I had to
That's
smile
fine.
when I didn't
Mhm.
want to smile, when I didn't actually
You
want
were
to live.
masking the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thank God for faith, right? I thank God for faith. I think my
Mhm.
faith, of course, increased in my relationship with the Lord. Uh, but the psychological damage, it's like it's not repairable for me. It hasn't been repairable for me. It really has not been. It is a very painful thing. I had an excellent credit score, 800 and something, and
Mhm.
now it's not that. I'm behind because here's the thing. It's not just about going and get another job. I do understand that, but people are really not hiring.
Mm.
They're not really hiring. And especially if you become vocal of sharing your story, they definitely are not going to be hiring.
Yeah.
You also struggle, or I would say for myself, struggle with exhaustion. I'm exhausted. I'm
Mhm.
exhausted. And so now I have to drive every day, all day, just to make ends meet. And they're not
Mhm.
even waving at each other. They're so
Yeah.
far away. They're so far away. And imagine that the staff wrote emails to the entire organization saying, "Why did this just happen?" And the CEO said, "Get over it. Change is
So the
evident."
C wow. So you were in a no-win situation, period. You were in a no-win
Yeah,
situation, and there was nothing that
absolutely.
you could have done. There was no
No,
way that there was no HR department that you could, file a claim
no,
against this person. Like no one was there
no
to be
one.
held
No,
accountable.
I've heard of a rebuttal. I never thought anything about it. I called one of my friends that was an HR director somewhere else.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
said, I just lost my job. And she says, why? And I told her. And she says, well, you need to write a rebuttal. I stayed up until 1:30 in the morning writing a rebuttal. And
Mhm.
nobody ever responded. No one.
How have you been able to just maintain any semblance of just mental awareness and sanity after all of this? Because as you mentioned earlier, you haven't recovered. What have you been doing in the meantime?
Well, I try to go out walking. I try to,
Mhm.
it's, nice outside. I try to go out walking, but I also want to say this. I saw your post on LinkedIn about your abuse that you incurred, and I couldn't believe it because you're a native here from Indiana. And I was like, what? Everybody knows you by the voice. And so I just,
Mhm.
and then I reached out to you. I didn't even think that you would reach back out to me,
Mm.
and you were sincere in the reaching back out. And so I thought, oh God, I'm out here now. And so now I really am out here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Like,
post every day on
I'm
LinkedIn
out.
about any workplace abuse. And so
Mhm.
now it is now a whole movement of talking about it because it's painful to hold it in. It's painful to hold it in. You feel lost. You have no one to turn to. A lot of times you feel like you don't have anybody that will understand if people have never experienced it or even been vocal about it. Being vocal allows you a level of healing as well. Even though you
Yeah,
may not
absolutely.
feel like you're being healed,
Mhm.
being vocal and talking about it, sharing it, because it's the fear of sharing it because of the retaliation that happens.
Mhm.
But I know that I've been
Mhm.
retaliated against, even by sharing. I know that job opportunities haven't come to me because I'm sharing at this present time. But for me, I think at this time, I don't plan on being quiet at no time soon.
Now that you're vocal, yeah. It's interesting though because you mentioned you think you might be missing out on opportunities because you have been
Hmm.
vocal, because you're no
Hmm.
longer silent. And I think you've talked
Hmm.
about on your page, you call them bullies with skirts and suits or suits and skirts on,
Hmm.
um, you know, muted to what is it? Unmuted to voice. You
Yeah,
were
I
you
needed
were
the voice.
silent, but now you are talking about it. That is another form of trauma, don't you think? The fact that, you're trying to raise awareness,
Sure.
you're sharing your story, and you're being transparent and honest in hopes that this conversation really does become a movement that will net some change, some real
Uh-huh.
substantive change and the change in the laws. And yet you're still being traumatized because you can't find a job because you're applying, but maybe someone is going, okay, Shannon Washington, let's go take a look at your LinkedIn page. And they're
Exactly.
seeing how you are being brave, how you
Yes.
are standing up for yourself and raising awareness about this systemic problem. And they're like, oh, we don't want her because she looks like she's going to be a little dangerous to us.
Right.
She's going to be
Right.
trouble. She's going to flip the script and do the same thing to us.
Right.
How do you What's your response or reaction to that? What do you say to those potential employers and those people who are afraid to speak up because they're worried about their livelihoods, which is a true fear? It's a real fear. I get it. But what do you say to them and or to employers? That's kind of a twofold question. First, what do you say to the employers who are looking at your LinkedIn page and they're going, I don't know if we want to mess with Shannon because Shannon is a whistleblower.
Right. I would say to any employer that is watching or listening or going into my LinkedIn page, know that you have a very transparent, dedicated, loyal worker. I think a lot of times, especially with African Americans, we use our hands to talk because it's expression. And we are very passionate about our work. It is not
Mhm.
aggression. It is not
Mhm.
aggression. And that's what we need to understand. And so, if in fact anybody is watching, especially with employers, I'm a good worker, I'm a team player. My
Mhm.
history says that. My history says that. I'm just expressing my pain, my trauma, and trying to get past it. And I would hope as an employer that you would not want your employees to experience what I've experienced.
Mhm.
And if you're not speaking up about it, you might be the problem. Yeah, you might be the problem, meaning the employer. I'm
Those
just
are
telling you.
facts.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like your former employer was part of the problem. I mean, the CEO
exactly.
was part of the problem. And what people
Yeah,
fail to realize is that many of these companies are being run and supervisors, if you will, by people who are the bullies. And even though you may not personally say something nasty or derogatory or
for
retaliate,
sure.
or that's retaliatory, if you're in a position of power where you can change within, you can help change the culture to swing the pendulum in the other direction. If you
Right.
fail to do something, you're just as much the bully as the person who exacted that
Sure.
action upon you. You're complicit. You're complicit.
Mhm. And with the person that is the employee,
Hmm.
there is of course a guy on LinkedIn. His name is Dan Goodman. That he advocates for employees. But I will say, speaking up is power. It really is power,
It is.
because
Yeah.
if you're in the closet in a sense by yourself, then you don't want to take those drastic measures that may come to you where you may take your life, and you don't want to do that. May, of course, is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think that there is truth and power when you speak up.
Hmm.
You may feel alone. Please know that if you're speaking up, you may lose your job. You perhaps will be retaliated against. And so for me personally, that's where my faith comes in. Am I going
Hmm.
to believe God, or am I not going to believe God? That He's going to take care of me, that He's going to provide for me in spite of everything that's going on, in spite of everything. So at this point, because I don't have a job, and perhaps I'm missing out on opportunities because I am now speaking up, then I'm trusting that God Himself is going to provide, and that He's going to open up a door, that He's going to make a way, and that it will be the right door. I don't want to go to any job, any organization, any company or business, all to be back in a box of quiet.
Yeah.
I am a
Hmm.
person, I have feelings, right? And
Hmm.
I want to be treated with respect, as well as I'm going to treat you with respect. That's just
And
it.
that's the truth of life, is that we should all want to come to the table with respect. You
Yeah.
know, for me, that's baseline. That is
Hmm.
baseline. Baseline is respect, dignity, integrity, fairness, equitable. Like, those are non-negotiables for me at this point in my
Yeah.
life. I've so I mean, I've had some other opportunities that have come my way, and I have been in a situation where I've had a conversation with someone, and I can tell immediately, oh, this is too much like the past.
People may or may not know, I just got back from the NAB show, which is a very national broadcasting
Mhm,
show, and I was there with news stations.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I think that there was an opportunity, and then that opportunity, I believe, was taken away because I believe that they looked at my
exactly.
LinkedIn account of saying
Mhm,
that I have been vocal, I've been speaking out. I literally was told to submit my application. I was going to move away
mhm,
to a whole nother state. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, wait.
mm, mm,
The
mm,
dynamic has changed. Now they didn't say,
mhm.
oh, it's because of LinkedIn, but oh,
Yeah,
it's
they'll never
because
be honest.
they'll never be honest. And so in my head, I thought, I don't want to work at your organization either.
Mhm,
If you're telling me that I have to be quiet, right? I understand that there's a time and a place for everything. Absolutely.
mhm.
But is freedom of speech really freedom of speech, or as it comes with
Ooh,
retaliation?
say that. Even end workplace abuse is very clear on the very first page as they're talking about what we're trying to do with the Workplace Psychological Safety Act, how this proposed law will protect both employees and employers, that the discrimination laws as they are on the books right now really don't protect us. I've learned that through
Right,
my own personal situation.
right.
And yet, this kind of abuse, while it affects everyone, it doesn't discriminate based on race or color,
Right,
gender,
right.
age. Everyone is affected. However, people of color are more affected because there's
Yes,
the racial component included,
yes,
involved in
yes,
this. And
yes.
yet we keep talking about it. And yet people go, you're always talking about the race card. You're always,
Yeah.
but it is a real pervasive problem. And so you have workplace abuse combined with the racial component.
And here's the thing, what we
It's a
know is,
double negative.
yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You know, when you think about it, I call them bullies with suits and skirts on, the narcissists that are there on these jobs. The problem is that they're the ones, our bullies, our abuser, they're the ones that kick us right out the door. They're the same one that will give us poor evaluations. Now, here it is, we're doing wonderful on our job. And all of a sudden, you can see it go just like this.
Yeah,
where
they
we
make
bump
things up, they
heads,
lie. Yeah.
and then now I'm being escorted out. Why are none of the abusers being escorted out ever? They're never
Right.
escorted out of the job. So you have to know that there's disparity that's really going on. And it is because of the color of my skin. It absolutely is because of the color of my skin. Because my counterparts, they win every time. Shannon, African American women, women of color, Black people, African Americans, we do not win. We don't win.
No.
We lose. We're able to come together. We're able to talk about it. And then the companies and the businesses will say, oh, we're going to do some training, right? Some sensitivity training, or the DEI. We're going to do some training. And then people just go on. They go on. Because we don't get to see the report of that. What was the result of this training that was now implemented? We don't get to see that because we're out the door.
Right. I think what's really amazing too with the Workplace Psychological Safety Act is that it's going to allow for there to be an outside organization, commission, if you will, to conduct the investigation. Because a lot of these so-called investigations, the HR departments are investigating themselves, basically, investigating their own. And they're not there. I say all the time, HR is not your friend. They're not there for the employees. They're going to do what the employer wants, because at the end of the day, the employer is trying to mitigate their financial liability. So at the end of the day, we already know we're not going to be, this is not going to be investigated fairly. So does that give you some glimmer of hope, knowing that if, and I won't say just if, but if and when, no, let's back up. When this is passed, that this will truly give both it will put everyone on notice that everyone has the ability to have a fair investigation. That is not where the deck is stacked automatically against you in favor of the company. And perhaps it might allow those people who see unconscionable behavior to feel protected, that they know if they go and share what they know as a witness, that they too will be protected, that there won't be any retaliation. But as it stands right now, companies can do whatever they want to, and people know it. And that's why a lot of witnesses say, I don't want to get involved. Don't involve me. I didn't see anything. It happens all the time. We hear that story over and over and over again.
If these organizations and companies would understand the validity of the Psychological Safety Act and how it will really highlight them as an organization, meaning and as a business, it will bring so many people to that said organization or business, because their name will be mentioned. It will make so many other workers want to come and work at your business. So why would you not want to be a part of this Psychological Safety Act? Because you're dealing with individuals, you're dealing with human beings every day that is running your business. So it would behoove you to sign up, get on board, be a part of it, because we're not asking you to do anything wrong. It's really showing kindness. So you're telling me you don't want to get on board with showing kindness to your employees?
Right. It's a no-brainer.
What is the fear here? What is
what's the fear?
Here? Yeah, what is the fear here?
What's the fear? And as we hear from a racial perspective, people say, oh, it's very simple and very easy. Most people just go, oh, you're just using the race card. And I say to people all the time, quit saying that, because one, there's no such thing as a race card. If someone puts down a card, the idea is that I'm going to get something good, something positive from it.
Absolutely.
What is the incentive for anyone to say that it's racist if we are shunned, retaliated against, we are fired? There's nothing good that comes from it. We're being honest and truthful, because a lot of people are motivated by their prejudices and their biases, and that is what is fueling this divide, if you will.
Yeah. I want to add something to that with this race card. Who gave us that label? Who gave us the label?
Let's talk
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah, let's
Let's
talk
talk
about
about
that
it.
part
It's
about
a
who
very,
gave us
yeah,
the label. So even if there is some race card,
which there is
I
not.
which there's not, I would like to know the person that created that race card. Please tell me what my benefits are for it. I
What's
would
the
like to
benefit? There
know
is no
because I
benefit.
haven't been able to cash in on it. I haven't been able
I
to
would
cash in on this card.
tell me
I
about it.
I, I want to know what is the
Is
benefits.
there a
You
prize? Is
know,
there a benefit?
yeah, I want to
What is it?
know if my counterparts are giving me a card. Typically, when they give you a gift card, you benefit. What is, or is it there's
There's
no
no
cash
benefit.
value? There's no
Right.
cash value here,
I
and
wish people
so
would stop saying that.
they need to stop saying that because it's no benefit to us. It's no benefit.
None
I
whatsoever.
understand that a lot of women that don't look like us, if they speak out about their story, they're brave and courageous. If women of color speak out about our story, then we are called complainers, and we're using some race
Complainers.
card. We can say the
Yeah.
same thing. The sky is blue, not dark blue, not light blue, but the sky is blue. Two people saying the same thing. Guess what? These people are the heroes and we are the complainers. Make it make sense. That's what we don't
Make it make
understand
sense.
here. And so if your business, your companies, your organizations do not sign up, once again, you are part of the problem. And it's exactly, we know that it's a problem because people are not being hired. You can look on LinkedIn every day where people that don't look like us, they say, I would like to announce that I just started this new position. And a lot of
They
people,
do.
women of color, have the same degrees and titles and all of that, and they're not getting a job.
Yeah.
So we understand
So
that there's
true.
a real divide. It's a real divide that's going on here. A real divide that's going on here.
What's the solution? Do you think we will ever come up with with a solution that will help everyone who is affected by this? I mean, we talk about the Workplace Psychological Safety Act, but what other solutions are there? Because what people don't realize is that if they were to pass this, if companies would jump on board, their productivity will increase. And the incentive is because companies are all about making money. Guess what? The productivity will increase, which means your profits will increase. It behooves
Absolutely.
you to pass this. This is good for you. This is good for
It's good for
everyone.
you. It's good
Everyone
for everybody.
wins. Everyone wins.
If we
Everyone
don't,
wins.
if people don't get on board, then we're going to constantly decline in the workplace. Because
Yeah.
as you know, that many people are becoming entrepreneurs, right? And these businesses, organizations, and companies, they will not be ran anymore because
No.
if you don't get on board, everybody likes to have a little bit of kindness. We all do. We all do.
Right.
And not having that. So the solution to me is that really it's a heart issue and it's a head issue.
Yeah.
If you don't change
Yeah.
your mind and how you see people, see them as individuals, see them as human beings, and not having these preconceived notions of what you think I am, then the
The
world could be
biases
a
and the
much
prejudices.
better place. You can
Absolutely.
change the
You know,
system.
as you were saying that, it hit me. I thought, what would happen? Because a lot of people are beginning to say, you know what, I don't even want to work in corporate America. I don't want to go into an office every day. I don't want to
Right.
deal with a hostile workplace. I mean, people are talking about it. It's just not an issue that is just, happening to Black folks. It's not just an issue
Right.
that's happening to women. It's everyone, right? EWA clearly shows that there is a huge incentive for companies or corporations to do so because you're getting the cream of the crop. You're getting the best workers. You're getting those folks,
Yes.
meaning people like us who have been so-called whistleblowers, who have stood up, who
Right.
have had courage and who are brave and are not willing to remain silent. We're the ones that are the good workers. But if you continue to tell people like us or don't employ us that we're not good enough or you fire us or what have you, guess what's going to happen? More and more people are going to begin to leave. And you're going to be stuck with all the bad apples. You're going to be
Yep.
stuck with all the bad apples. And maybe we
Yeah.
need that to happen so that you can see how's that working for you. because all the good people, we have all either created our own companies, we have
Yep.
created our own tribe of good people. We're clear about who we
Yeah.
want to work with. And guess what? You're going to be left with all the bullies of the world. And
Yeah.
maybe once you start losing money, you'll realize that this is a systemic problem that has to be dismantled because it
Yeah.
is good for everyone. It's good for everyone, corporate
It's
as
good
well
for
as
everyone.
individuals.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What is this? Seven steps are highly effective people by Sean
Highly effective
Connery.
people.
You know,
Hmm.
and so it's a win-win.
It's a
It could be a
win-win.
win-win situation if we definitely would work together. Unfortunately, I think that it's going to be the latter.
Mm.
People are going to walk off their jobs, which is wonderful.
Hmm.
I salute everybody.
Yeah,
It's like we're not going to take this. It's
we're not
not
taking
fair.
it.
It's not right. You
Hmm.
know, walk off their jobs. People are starting their businesses and people are being successful. One thing
Hmm.
COVID taught us, especially when people were able to come home and work, they realized, wait a minute, I actually
Hmm.
like being at home with my family or children. If you have, children or family or husband, a cat
Yeah.
or a dog or whatever, it
Yeah,
gave a
because they
level
weren't
of
around the
freedom.
hostility anymore at
Yeah,
work. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can think and breathe, and I'm much more productive because I'm not around all the drama at work."
exactly. And now trying to have these people to go back into the workplace, they're
People are
not
like,
willing to do it. They're not
they're
willing to
not
do
willing
it.
to do it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
me personally, I'm not willing to do it if you're going to be
I'm not
hostile. Because
I'm not
now you're
either.
telling me if I go into your job, your business, that I have to put my nose down and now be
Mhm,
quiet.
mhm. Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
have to subject myself to this hostile working environment. Oh no.
Yeah, a lot of companies and people, employers, managers, supervisors, HR departments, they believe, well, we're paying you all this money. We're paying you a salary. And what are you going to do without us? You won't have a job. Well, there's some truth to that potentially.
That's
But
true.
the
Yeah.
reality is, we're seeing so many more women, especially Black women. I want to say, I think
Hmm.
I read somewhere about 30% of African American women are beginning to become entrepreneurs and they're stepping out on
Yes,
their
I heard
own,
that.
saying, you know what? Yeah, I got a dream. I have a dream.
Yeah.
I've got a hope. I have a purpose. And you know what? I'd rather be broke by myself, if you will, of my own
Hmm.
doing, if you will, but knowing
Hmm.
that I'm not dealing with the negativity, the hostility,
Right.
the mental abuse,
Hmm.
and saying, I have enough within myself. Let me work for myself. Let me do for myself. Let me create for myself and
Yeah.
create the environment, be the change that I want to be, that I want to
It opens
see
up.
in the workforce. I want to create that.
Yeah, it opens up doors. I do believe with everything that has happened to me, I think I'm
Mhm.
on the cusp of something just extraordinary that is going to
I
happen
believe it.
out of all of this. I really believe that. That's probably
Mhm,
why I say bullets with suits and skirts on. I also
mhm,
say unmuted to voice because I once was
mhm.
muted and now I'm vocal and open. And so I
Vocal.
know that
Yes.
it's developing like a little flower and it's just going to bloom and it's going to blossom
Mm.
and it's just going to open
Blossom.
up so many doors and I can just see it.
Mhm,
I don't know what it all looks like, but I
mhm.
know my passion for people and my
Yeah.
gifting of connecting with people that hasn't changed
Mm.
because when I got walked out of the door, my gifting walked right with me. It did not
Right.
stay there.
You
It
didn't
did
keep
not
it.
stay there.
It
Yeah,
was not
they
for
can't keep
them.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not for
it was
them.
on
So
loan.
it's
It was
here.
on loan.
It's here.
Mhm,
And so I do believe that God is opening up some supernatural doors. I'm not sure when that door or doors are going to open, but
mhm.
I know and I just feel that the scripture reminds me that all things work together for our good.
Yeah, for
And
good,
so
for good.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
there've been moments when I'm like, "God, what is the good?" I mean, I know there's some good. A lot of great
sure.
things have happened to me as a result of walking away. And yet, even 4 years later, there's still moments when I go, could I have just stuck out a little longer?" And every time I've mentioned that to my husband or to my son or even to my mom and dad or my in-laws, they're like, "Girl, no." They're like,
No
"You definitely did the right thing. Too many
thing.
great
Yeah,
things have happened." But there
yeah,
is that ache, if you will, that probably will never go away because there's
yeah,
that knowledge that someone had the power to, in that moment, take that dream, to take your
yeah,
purpose in that moment away. And so now we have to rewire our brains and
hmm,
continue to walk in faith and say, okay, God, take that pain and take that ache away because I don't want to feel like that anymore.
yeah,
The trauma will probably always be here. the triggers will always be around, and we always have to work, to navigate around them.
Right.
But help me to sit in the truth that that season was over. That season was over.
You
So I'm
know,
going to sit and trust that you're going to open up a brighter future, and that the renewal and the restoration, that your word that you promise will come to
right.
pass.
You said a key word, purpose. And
Hmm.
when someone, and that's how I felt when I was walked out of my job, I felt that my purpose was taken away. So it wasn't the job.
It
This is
wasn't the
my
job.
purpose. This is something I've been
Yeah.
dreaming about my whole entire life.
Yeah. Hmm.
And my purpose was taken away. And so
Yeah.
what I am learning is that now I have a greater purpose, and I can
Yeah.
couple all of this hurt, this pain, this disappointment, these hard nights and days,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
can make this ball of purpose
Mm.
and to bring about effective change. That's what I
Effective
really
change.
feel.
That's it. That's it.
Effective change.
That's it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I want to be
Absolutely.
effective. And you can't. I heard a message from a minister or whatever. You can't
Uh-huh.
be. You can't win them unless you have to sometimes become them. Meaning, when you
Mm.
are in the midst of the situation
Hmm.
of hurt and pain, and you're like, "Why do I have to go through all of these things?" It reminds me
Hmm.
of the scripture. God said, "After I suffer a while, I
Suffer a
will
while.
receive the promise."
Mm. Mm.
And even
Hmm.
Jesus suffered many
He
things.
suffered
He
many
suffered
things.
many things. And so,
Hmm.
again, count it all joy. And so I know that at this time that things are changing and they're working for my good for that purpose, because ultimately God has to get the glory out of our lives. And I just believe that that's what's getting ready to happen. I really do.
Next week, Shannon offers some advice to help abuse victims through their healing journey.